Okay, so your first step with your straps is to fold it in half and then sew down the one long side and one short side. You sew all the way down and turn the corner and sew the short side. Now before you turn this right side out, you want to trim the corner, and then depending on the thickness of your fabric, you may also want to trim the seam allowance smaller as well. This one's a fairly thick knit, so I'm going to trim it. Okay, so to turn it right side out, so the way that traditionally you might have been taught how to do it is to flip down the open edge and then gradually move it down further and further. The faster way is to actually take the closed end and kind of poke it in, and then take a long blunt object and just push it all the way through. So you're going to work it. Once you get going, it's pretty easy. Once you got the end out, you can just pull it. There you go, it's all turned. Now you just want to poke that corner out. Again, a long blunt object is best. And there you go. Your strap is ready for top stitching. When you place your straps on your back bib, you want to make sure that the strap is parallel to this short edge and that it's exactly centered between the two corners. So I basted that one down already. Now I'm going to place my other one right in the middle, and then I'm going to baste it onto the edge there. Basting is really important because if it just moves just a little bit while you're sewing it, then the strap will end up facing a different direction when you turn it. So it's very important that you make sure it stays exactly parallel to that edge. Okay, so after you baste the straps, you're gonna put the other side of the back bib on top, so you've got the strap sandwiched in between. And then you're going to sew, starting at one of the bottom corners, all the way up to the top corner on the side. Then you're going to leave your needle in your fabric and lift your presser foot and pivot, and sew then up to the top corner and pivot again, down to this corner and down to the bottom. It's important that whenever you're pivoting, that your needle is in the fabric, but it is not through the straps. It's got to be in that little space between the straps or just on the edge of the strap on the corners. Now, before you trim your seam allowances, you want to turn it right side out and make sure that your straps look right. Because if one of them got even just the tiniest little bit off, then one of them will be sticking way off to the side instead of down evenly like this. So make sure that it's correct before you trim your seam allowances, and then turn it right side out and top stitch. Alright, so your next step is to sandwich the back bib in between your waistband pieces. Now for mine here, I'm using the same fabric for both sides of the waistband. But if I was using lining for one of them, then I would want to make sure that the lining was facing the lining and the main was facing the main. So I've already marked the middle points of these, but to do that, you're just going to fold them in half and mark your middle point. Alright, so I'm going to put the back bib on top of my waistband. And then I'm going to put my other waistband piece face down, sandwiching it in between. And then clip it And so, after you've sewn the waistbands together, then you're going to flip them down and top stitch them, as I've already done here. So what you're going to do first is you're going to attach your back skirt to the main waistband. So this is my main side, so I'm going to attach my back skirt to this waistband right here first, and then I'm going to do the elastic. Okay, so I've now got my skirt sewn to the main side of the waistband. It's gathered and sewn, and so now the next step is to press down the edge of the lining waistband. Now what I've done is I've actually used Wonder Tape and I've stuck it down instead of pressing it. That gives it a nice crisp edge that doesn't flip up at all, and it will allow me, when it's time to flip it down and sew, to easily find the edge, because it's a little thicker, so it'll be easier to feel it when you're top stitching through the waistband there. Alright, so before we top stitch the waistband, we need to get the elastic in place. So what you're going to do is put a safety pin in the end of your piece of elastic, and then take the end that doesn't have a safety pin in it and just tuck it inside the waistband. And that edge is going to be right below where the bib meets the waistband. Shuffle it down a little bit. There we go. Then you're going to close it all the way up, like that, and sew a vertical line through the end of the elastic to hold it in place. Then you're going to repeat that on the other side. After you've got the elastic in place on both sides, then what you're going to do is top stitch your waistband down. You're going to do it from the front. So you're going to top stitch along your skirt from the front, through the waistband right above the skirt. And that way your line will be straight on the outside. And if it's a little bit uneven on the inside, no one's going to see it. So then once you've got the waistband sewn shut all the way along, you're going to use that safety pin to pull your elastic to the end, and then sew it in place at that end as well. So that's going to gather this piece up here, and then you can move on to your placket.